Mr. Jack Kalassi, president of Telemir Nursat. We are very glad to have you here today and we talk to you.
Thank you very, very much. And the pleasure is mine also.
Thank you. Sir, as a media person, I would put in this word. As we know, like, the Islamic leaders, they're like remaining kind of silent of what ISIS is doing to many minorities in the Middle East. You don't like this word, but let's put it this way. So if we put, as a media, we put some pressure on them and tell them, like, you need to speak to your people, you need to stop them, because there are people just like anyone else, they would listen to their leaders. Do you think that would work? This is like kind of sort of solving the problem and stopping those like people of increasing, because they're increasing every day. We're hearing stories of like people joining ISIS from all around the globe, right?
Listen, it starts from the basic. Let's start from the basic and say, if this ideology, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, will continue, everybody will be blind. So this is terrible. We cannot meet. They have the ideology of eye for an eye. We have another ideology, love your enemies. So these contradictory things, we should meet somewhere. The platform we can start and everybody loves. In every human being I met around the globe, you can find in every man a space for peace and love in his heart. Whether he is Muslim, he is Buddhist, he is Christian, whatever he is. So we say, I don't want to convert you to come to my Christianity. You don't have to convert me and to convince me to go to your Islam. Let's find a denominator, common denominator. شيء مشترك بيننا وبينكم. There is one thing, love. Love and do whatever you want. When you love, you don't kill. When you love, you don't lie. When you love, you don't betray. When you love, you live the love of God. And then I don't want you to be religious. Just live the love. This is, if you want to remit this through media, then we have to stop some programs. What does these programs mean? I insult you, you have to react, you insult me. This is a non-stop story. Why don't we show the hopeful, the hope, the joy in our medias? Look, I scanned 1,000 TVs. Look at their news, how they start. All with terrible news. And they end up by nature catastrophes. It's terrible. So this have to stop somewhere. And I did a recommendation one day. I said, let the 5,600 TVs around the world for 1 week make a sacrifice. Don't broadcast news. Stop the news for 1 week and see what will happen. Only good programs and see. This is the way we have to teach our people how to live the joy, how to live the love. We learned when you were very young. Did you know about Muslim and Christian and Buddhist and Sikh and this? That's it.
So you're just telling us like the power of media, of promoting violence is just making the gap bigger and bigger between any two communities living together, and it's just like separating them rather than just like making them as like one group of people sharing the love, sharing like everything in their countries and being friends, definitely.
At school, you were at school.
Yes.
Always, they give you all the theories. And then when you end up the course, they said, listen, we gave you 20 theories, but there is always exclusivity, one exclusive. And this devil, it's an exclusivity. He cannot overcome the good. He works in the night. So what you see is he is making noise. It's like one student in a class, alone, in a 40-student class. He makes noise on the table, to be seen. Okay, we zoom in the camera on this student, or we have to zoom it on the 39 quiet, wise, doing great success. The good are far more bigger than the bad. Why we are zooming on violence? Why we don't zoom in on these nights, living together, dancing together, promoting good things together, telling, today it was lovely. The things which was said today about everything, the values. Forget about Jesus Christ. Forget about the Prophet. Speak about the values. Speak about the human rights. speak about my right to live, my right to eat, my right to give my children good life, education, etc. Why we speak about violence? We see two people fighting outside. We are 1,000 people here. All the cameras goes outside to film two fighting, and we don't know why. And then we create stories. This is Muslim, Christian. It's a war. Why you don't show here? Forget about them.
Definitely. And like you've been working on the media and making media for a long time, especially in the Middle East, focusing on the Christians. Where then, let's say within the next 10 years, how would you imagine the Middle East? Like it's been changing a lot for the last 10 years, a lot of immigration, a lot of demographic changes. Like, as Mr. Jack Kalassi, would you imagine the Middle East within the next 10 years? Let's hope first.
No. First, I will assure you, we are there to stay. At any cost, we are there to stay. We are now speaking about a Middle East of 300 million and 15 million of Christian, 300 millions of various nationalities and communities, and we are 15 million. If listen, if the 14.99999 will emigrate and one will stay, a good one, he can bulldozers the whole Middle East. I take, Jesus Christ never lie. He said, you see, all the universe will disappear, but one letter from what I said will not disappear. He said, you are the salt. You know the salt? Like this. You are the salt of the earth. Meaning if one salt, you make a big jar salad like this, sahan salata halad. You put a little bit salt, then you change the flavor. If one Christian, a good one, will stay, he will change everything, and the Christians will. And very soon, remember this, very soon, not 10 years, not 25 years, like the fall of the wall between West and East, something will be new in the Middle East, and we will have a very, very nice, peaceful Middle East for eternity.
Hopefully, let's hope for a safe place for everyone, because we were made to live all together. Thanks a lot. You've been doing.
وتضلوا بهالهمة يا لينا، وفعلا we need هيك تلفزيونات مثل هالتلفزيون هيدا ينشر هالمحبة وينشر الحب. ما بدنا نحول لا المسلم لمسيحي ولا المسيحي لمسلم، خليه يعيشوا هالمحبة وكتر خيرهم.
ميرسي كثير.
يعطيكم العافية. شكرا لكم. Thank you very, very much.
Good evening, Dr. Greg Stanton. We are very happy and glad to have you here tonight. Your words were incredible towards helping our people in the Middle East. Thank you for being here tonight.
Been really my pleasure, my honor to be with you.
So, Doctor, first of all, there were many questions asking how we can take these people to court, aka ISIS, the so-called Islamic State. I want to put it in this frame for now. Taking them to court, stopping them, putting pressure on the government to stop them. But don't we first have to look at it from a different perspective and look how we can decrease the people that are joining those militants like every day, because people are going there from all around the globe to join. Do you think we can put pressure on, let's say, the Islamic world leaders so they can like stop them or tell them something? What do you think?
Well, I think we have to do both. What we're up against here is a totalitarian, ideological, spiritual movement. And if we don't understand that about it, we won't defeat it. In other words, you can't simply defeat ISIS militarily. ISIS is more like communism or Nazism than it is like anything else. It's really basically a religious movement that expresses itself in totalitarianism. And so to counter that and to counter the recruitment of people to it, and remember, communism was very attractive to a lot of people for a long time in many countries because it was a kind of a secular religion. It was a godless religion. It was a utopian kind of a, religion that said that everything would be perfect if they just became communist. Well, it took many, many years of simply telling the truth about what was really happening in communist countries, broadcasting it into communist countries, telling the truth around the world about communism to finally defeat it. And of course, communism also crumbled from within as its own people, people within those countries, said, we aren't going to have any more of this. I mean, that's what really brought communists down in the Soviet Union. So that is what is eventually going to bring ISIS down too. People who are under ISIS's control are going to rise up against it. It is a tyrannical system. They're going to overthrow it. So even where they're under control, that is what's going to happen. Now, as far as getting our own justice system involved in how to deal with ISIS, I think that's a really good idea to do. There are three ways we can do it. One is the International Criminal Court, and it could actually be brought before the International Criminal Court by an action of the UN Security Council referring the situation to the International Criminal Court. And I believe this would be a very possible way to accomplish it, because in this case I do think that Russia and China would either go along with it or at least not veto it. So we would have a real chance of doing it, I think. The crimes against humanity and genocide that ISIS is committing, I mean, are so terrible. And because Russia itself has a Muslim minority problem, and also China has, I think we're a real possibility of getting this done that way. The second way, though, would be to have countries that are immediately affected by ISIS, such as the Arab League, form their own criminal court and actually have a regional-based criminal court that could put ISIS on trial. And that could be easily done within the Arab League. I think a lot of Arab League countries would support it. The third way, though, is through national courts in countries that ISIS has affected. I think Iraqi national courts would welcome it, because the Iraqi regime, of course, is fighting ISIS. And I think it would be harder to get the Syrians probably to do it. But the truth is, ISIS is also affecting other countries around it. And I believe you could get Turkish courts to take these people to justice, maybe. You might even get Lebanese courts, all of these courts in the region where they're affected by ISIS. In fact, the truth is, the crimes they're committing are treated as crimes against humanity and genocide, and in some countries there's even universal jurisdiction over those crimes. So, for instance, if ISIS is involved in an attack in France or in Germany or in a lot of other countries, whoever is responsible for it and the people who have made it possible, in other words, the leaders of ISIS, can be brought to trial. So there the question is only capturing the defendants. Once you begin to undermine the legitimacy of ISIS through legal prosecution, they will crumble. I think that, plus an ideological attack, as I say, and plus a really resolute military attack on ISIS, will win eventually.
Let's hope for that. Just one last thing, Doctor. The fact that they are not only killing minorities from different religions, they're killing their own people, even not only the Shia Muslims, even the Sunni Muslims, they are Sunni Muslims, they're killing their own people just because they don't agree with them. This is the threat to every person on the planet, because whoever doesn't agree with them is like, no, you're not with us, you're dead, right? So as the American government, or let's put the governments away, we are dealing with them as enemies, and everyone, like in the conference, was believing in the power of the prayers. They were like, well, pray for us to stay in the East. Why don't we start praying for them to stop what they're doing? Do you think that would work too, as the power of the prayers works all the time?
I will tell you this. I have been healed from cancer by prayer. And so I know the power of prayer personally. I had cancer in 2002 with a cancer that was considered incurable at the time. And only 3 days after they had to stop the first chemotherapy that they tried to give to me, and I had so much cancer in me that they had to stop it, a pastor in our church at the end of a committee meeting in the church said, let's pray at the end of the meeting. And we joined hands. He began to pray, and I felt a heat go through my body that was it was just intense and incredible. And now I felt the touch of God before in my life, so I knew that was what it was. It was never that hot before, though, I can tell you that. It was more like an inspiration feeling. This one was literally hot. Yeah, and so after the meeting, the people sitting next to me said, "Did you feel that?" And I said, "You bet I did." And everyone around the table said, "We felt it too." Well, that night, after this meeting, I got up the next morning, I had lost 10 pounds. The night after that, I got up the next morning, I had lost 12 more pounds. All of the tumors in me had melted away. And I went to my oncologist, I said, "What has happened here?" And she said, "I am going to have you do a CT scan on Friday." So I went for that. Cancer was gone. So
we should start praying for them too.
Well, I never, ever since then, have ever dismissed the power of prayer. And I never would have anyway, because I can tell you just from my own experience how important it's been in my own life. The biggest decisions have always been after prayer. In fact, it's actually saved my life a few times. So I don't know, I think we have to use all the powers that we can think of. I can't think of anything that's more powerful than God. So I think maybe that's a pretty good idea.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. I'm glad I had the chance to talk to you today. Thanks a lot for joining us.
I'm very pleased to be able to talk to you too.
اهلا وسهلا دكتور مصعب كبي، احنا هوايه فرحانين انت موجود ويانا اليوم، وكل الشكر للخدمات اللي تقدموها عبر منظمه ميرسي بالعراق اللي تساعدون بها كل النازحين على مختلف طوائفهم واشكالهم.
شكرا للاستضافه وهالمؤتمر هذا الحلو. فشي يعني يفرح انه الجاليه كلها مجتمعه سوا حتى واحد يساعد الاخ. ناس هناك بحاجه لكل الاشياء. من ناحيتي يعني كطبيب انه المشروع اللي عندنا نحاول نساعد العيادات الموجوده بالشمال مال العراق، وين ماكو ناس بحاجه نقوم بالمساعده لهم. فشي حلو انه هنا كلتنا واحد يساعد الاخ، وهناك همين دن الكنيسه والدكاتره دا يشتغلون سوا حتى يساعدون الناس اللي موجودين طالعين من بيوتهم.
مشروع ضخم مثل هذا، توفير أدوية ونصائح طبية وأطباء وعيادات لعدد هائل من النازحين خلال فترة كلش قصيرة، أكيد بدايتها صعبة. شلون بديتوا أنتم؟
أول مرة قلنا شيء صعب، بس الكنيسة سهلت الأمور، لأنه وين ما نخابر أكو قس أكو دكتور ربطناهم سوا، والمعدات الطبية يو دزينا لهم فلوس يشتروها ويشترون الأدوية، فيبين صعب بس الكنيسة ربطتها سوا يعني فشي حلو.
بالمناسبة العيادات هي مو بس للمسيحيين اللي متواجدين هناك.
الشيء اللي قايلين لهم هناك انه ياهل يدخل للعياده يتعالج ببلاش وينطوا له ادويه ببلاش. هاي النصيحه مالتنا لهم، والشيء اللي نطلبه منهم، لانه بدنا نساعدهم مننا وهم طريقتهم يساعدوهم هناك. لاي واحد يدخل بالعياده يتعالج
وياخذ ادويه بنفس الوقت.
نعم الادويه هي ببلاش.
وهاي أهم نقطة توفروها أنتم. شلون الناس تقدر تساعد هسه من خارج العراق؟ من هنا هي عبر الدونيشنز التبرعات. داخل العراق إذا واحد مو طبيب ولا عنده خبرة بس حابب يساعد، شلون راح يقدر يساعدكم؟
بالعراق هسه العالم هو واحد. our website عندنا ويب سايت بالكمبيوتر هو mercy.helpiraq.org mercy.help.org. اوكي، يقدر يروح على الويب سايت يباوع المعلومات الموجوده، يقدر يخابرنا ويتصل بينا ونتصل وياه ويساعدنا ونساعده.
السؤال الأخير، الدعم اللي تاخذوه منا من الكنائس كافي ولا أنتم دائما بحاجة إلى دعم أكثر لأن الأعداد تزيد بالعراق؟
بدينا اول مره عيادتين ثلاثه، هسه وين المهاجرين هي مكانات كبيره، يعني وين بدنا نخابر اكو 100 عائله هناك 1000 عائله هنا، وين ماكو عوائل متهاجره ويحتاجون مساعده بدنا نفتح حتى يوم تكون عياده اكو دكاتره ويا الكنيسه ودا يساعدون. ايش قد ماكو حاجه راح نقوم بالخدمه. المساعدات مننا هي من كل الجاليه اللي تجي، والجاليه مربوطه هنا. بيشوب فرانسيس بن يعني رابطها الجاليه بطريقه حلوه، وكلتنا واحد يساعد الاخ. دكاتره، المهندسين، الصيادله، المشروع كله مربوط. يعني احنا المشروع الطبي، واكو الجستس المشروع المحامين، واكو التيتش المعلمين، كلتنا مربوطين جوا المطرانيه.
شكرا لكم لخدمتكم لهالمشروع الحلو اللي دا يساعد الناس، وشكرا لكلمتك اليوم. اكيد ان شاء الله راح يجيكم اكثر دعم ومساعده بعد.
شكرا. Thank you.
Mr. Joseph Kassab, the founder and the president of the Iraqi Christian Advocacy and Empowerment Institute, we're glad to meet you today.
Thank you, Samir, and thank you for having me. I appreciate that we are on Al Mukhallas channel.
First of all, we would like you please to tell us more about the organization and what its goals.
Well, the organization is a non-profit organization. It's a humanitarian organization. We look after the plight of those who are persecuted and oppressed, especially from the Middle East, the minorities of the Middle East, and mainly the Christians. And our major focus now on the Christians of Iraq, because of the persecution they have been, suffering from ISIS, and we're trying to help them in any way we can in order for their voice to be heard, not in the international community, not only in Iraq, but also in Europe and United States, and mainly in New York and Washington, D.C.
Talking about Washington, D.C., what are the new plans for the organization and what's been happening? Because I heard you visited Washington, D.C., I think 1 or 2 times regarding something.
Well, it's not only I visited, but I often visited there. And actually, we have a satellite office there in Washington, D.C., and we have one in Brussels, where the European Union is, and also one in northern Iraq. What we do is we bring in the voice of those who are helpless people to the attention of the policymakers, of the decision makers, people like in charge of the White House, people in charge at the State Department, people in charge of think tanks, we call them, or people whom they help in making policies. We help them in knowing what's going on the ground in Iraq. We bring the voice of those oppressed people to them in order to help them out and find a way of making their life easier. That's about it. Yes.
After 4 years of starting this organization and after 4 years of hard work, in a scale of 1 to 10, where do you see like from 1 to 10, where do you see the organization is reaching its goals, like their main goals?
Well, first of all, my work, I myself as Joe Kassab, goes back to 35 years ago. And I've been doing this advocacy work and humanitarian work since then. So in the last 4 years when we started this organization, we believe that we are achieving our goals by making sure that we can have policymakers and the legislators in the Congress and the Senate in the U.S. administration get to know or to do something about what's going on with our people in Iraq and in the Middle East. And so is the same thing with the European Union. We've already been in Canada for that. We already, as you know, one time you were with us on this, and also on Australia. So we want to make sure that the whole international community get to know what is going on with the community and why the people and the churches and everybody should come and help this oppressed community. So we feel very good about the progress. We can do a lot more because our voice is well heard there. People like our work. They know of us of being very, very credible and telling the truth the way it is. And that helps a lot in people giving you back of what you want if they are able to do that. If not, we keep pressuring on them to help out in any way they can within the possibilities, within their own possibilities.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Joseph Kassab, for the hard work you do and for your words today. And I'm very glad I got the chance to talk to you.
Sure, and thank you, and I appreciate the Al Mukhallas channel for allowing us to appear on your program.